Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be going over the importance of self-discipline. Now, I'm a little hypocritical because I suck at releasing videos. I've already released a short explaining why. I've went into a bit of detail as to why I don't like making videos, why it's a bit harder for me, and the process, since I'm the only one doing it. But I go into details in that short. You can go ahead and watch it on my channel. But to get into the topic, I have 30 points that I'd like to talk about when it comes to discipline, because it's a pretty vast topic. It's also something that has multiple dimensions of wellness. When we look at the wellness wheel, the model, the 8-dimensional version, each of those aspects can have disciplines, multiple disciplines. And some of them can be transferable, but not all of them. And you also have to consider the fact that discipline is fluid. So you can either have it or not have it, and you can either choose to use it or not use it. You can also say that certain parts of discipline require the need to stop and then to start again. But I mean, it really depends on which aspect of discipline you're looking at. So first, out of the 30, you must have self-discipline. This is kind of a non-negotiable for succeeding, especially in life. You need to have discipline in order to be strong, healthy, be socially smart, intellectual, knowing your environment, and having occupation, making money, negotiating your way up the ladder. All of these require a form of discipline, but we don't really cover all of these topics in school. So that's why I think it's really good to cover it in videos like this one. In order to have self-discipline, you actually require a form of awareness and understanding. So usually the awareness is someone telling you, hey, listen, this exists. And then the understanding is actual practice. Without practice, you cannot actually make your practice perfect. Now, I don't usually believe in perfect practice, but, well, I mean, it depends on how good and how much you've really invested into it. And without application, so actually taking action on that understanding and, well, reinforcing the behavior or enforcing it in the first place, you won't see improvement, you won't see change. And so that's why it is important to understand that self-discipline has multiple different factors to it. It's not just single, it's multiple. And so when you have self-discipline, it gives you a sense of proper responsibility. So I say proper because you could have a sense of responsibility, but it might not be the right sense of responsibility. You might actually be doing things a bit wrong, just a little bit. Maybe you're doing things just right enough where you're seeing good improvement, but then at some point you hurt yourself because you were just a little off. That's because, unless you know all of the aspects of the discipline that you're working in, that's what's really going to make or break your discipline, your understanding. Now, this is really to take care of yourself. Without that understanding and without a proper understanding, you will not be able to take proper care of yourself. So now I also try to relate this to a form of maturity. The more disciplined you are, the more maturity you technically have, or becoming an adult. I really actually hate it when people say, oh, you're not an adult yet, or you're not acting like an adult. What is an adult? What do we classify a person, or when do we classify a person as an adult? And it really is just when you become a certain age or you gain a certain set of responsibilities. Hell, we've even created another substandard of people, student. You're not an adult until you've finished or accomplished being a student. And then once you've finished being a student, now you're an adult. I don't actually think that's completely accurate though, because you need to be able to take care of yourself before you can actually take care of another person or become an adult. Being an adult, in my opinion anyways, is the ability to have control of your impulses. Now, that is, again, another way of describing self-discipline, is to have control, to understand what it is to have control, what it is to lose control, and the ability to reel yourself back in to have control. I don't think that those who have a lack of control are the most mature of people. And even though you're a certain age, even though you are an adult by definition, we have to really consider what it is to truly be a self-disciplined adult. So yeah, you can be an adult because you reach a certain point in your life where you are responsible and you need to be mature. But I mean, what is true maturity? Maturity is the ability to do things rationally, to think before you act, and to do things in a proper way, hopefully. But not everyone has that. So that's why I like to look at discipline as a substandard and something that I think we truly need to emphasize on in school a little bit more so that we can teach people how to take better care of themselves. So like I said at the beginning, or I hope I said it anyways, discipline is multi-factorial, or it has multiple dimensions to it. In a way, it is the wellness wheel. So with the understanding of the wellness wheel, you will have a better understanding as to what discipline is, why it's important, and well, if you're good at all of the aspects of wellness, or even just one part or two parts, me personally, I'm good with physical wellness. So I know about the disciplines of taking care of your body and how to fix certain issues or ailments, but it takes time. So it takes a certain respect to understand how to take care of your body. I'm good at that, so that's what I'm mostly going to be focusing on. I'm going to try my best to avoid financial discipline because, well, it's one of those things that we can talk about. We don't teach it in school. We do not teach people how to have healthy behaviors with their finances, with money. We don't teach people how to have a healthy connection with it. And so I'll leave it to this point, but we don't teach people about these disciplines in school. Hell, even social discipline. We don't teach people how to come back to having healthy connections with their social standards or with their social interactions. Okay, so that was point number 2. I'm going to now go into the page that I wrote originally, the importance of self-discipline. It was a whiteboard that I originally came up with that I would go over with my clients to teach them about why it's important to have self-discipline. And so I'll have my page up here so that you can see it. I'll say first, though, that without the required understanding of discipline for your own self-care and maintenance of your body, we go through the process of termination, which means any progress gained through the time of effort will eventually detrain. So losing ability, strength, muscle mass, and motivation. You don't want to do that. That's not the point of exercise. But sometimes we have to actually detrain in order to recover from something. This happens because we either didn't listen to our body, we didn't listen to our instructor, or we're pushing ourselves through something that we know we probably shouldn't, or maybe we don't know we shouldn't. So without the proper balanced understanding of how to take care of your body, so without knowing that there's a necessity to rest as well as the work, then you're just going to hurt yourself, or even varying intensities. So if you're just doing high intensity all the time and not actually lowering intensity, that'll hurt you too. So lots of things to consider there. So number 3 on my list, so I'm probably going to forget the number that I'm on, but I'll have it on the screen here. Self-discipline. So I'm going to go over another way of saying it. It's the ability to self-motivate oneself to accomplish difficult tasks, or to know when to take a break. We may only learn self-discipline after a period of time, so the consequences of action or inaction. So, I mean, you could learn the hard way. That's how I learned. And I wouldn't recommend it. But then again, sometimes we just are not taught these things. Even if we went to school for it, we do not always get taught the full spectrum of what we're learning or what we want to learn, which is a huge problem. I think that if you're going to learn something, you should at least learn the whole spectrum so that, well, you are both successful on your own and with the people that you're working with. It's a no-brainer, but that's not the society we live in. We live in a society of where you only pay for a specific amount of knowledge, and then you have to pay for the rest somewhere else. So that's the world we live in. Number 4, moderation. So the ability to limit repetitive behavior so that we do not do too much of the same task. So overwork. If we do not moderate and actually take it easy on ourselves in certain respects, so the amount of work that we're doing, that will hurt us. We will hurt ourselves due to overwork or over repetitive use injury. Number 5, consistency. The ability to maintain a form of repetitive behavior in healthy doses to see progression. I mean, it's important to do the work. You have to do the work. Otherwise, you're not going to get strong. You're not going to actually benefit from exercise. So I always talk about rest, but that's only because I'm in a stage of my life right now where I love rest. But you need to do the work. Without the work, you will not actually see improvement. Resilience. So number 6, your ability to overcome personal or professional barriers to become stronger or more confident. So without actual resilience and the ability to push forward, you won't actually improve. The problem becomes when you are working through a problem, working through a pain. That's not good. You don't want to do that. So that's why it becomes important to understand your limits, but when you can, comfortably, push yourself. So it just becomes very important to push yourself, but to know your limits. So when you're fatigued, take a break. But I mean, if you can push yourself a little bit more, that's not a bad thing. Just don't hurt yourself in the process. It's not worth it. Habit. So number 7, creating a type of habit that allows for positive and or negative progression or regression. So a habit can be either a good thing or a bad thing. It can be a good habit or a bad habit. When we push ourselves through a bad habit, sometimes that can create negative consequences, like you're eating too much sugar, so diabetes. You're exercising too much, so overtraining, you might get tendonitis. You might push through it though and think that pain is a good pain and then cause tendinosis or muscle tearing. Then you'll need surgery. That's not something we want. We don't want to push ourselves through bad habits. We want to actually know that there is a balance to the work that we're doing and try to keep it a good habit or maintain it as a good habit. Number 8, positive and negative discipline. So this is to understand the difference between the requirement for penalty or the ability to provide a reward in the event of positive stimulus. So if you do something right and you do something good, positive stimulus. Bake a cake. Do something for yourself. Feel good. Maybe don't bake a cake, but I mean, do something good for yourself. But when you do something not so good, like let's say you failed a test, usually that doesn't reap a reward. You wouldn't usually reward yourself for that. But we're in a time today where we would make ourselves feel better because we feel like that is the right thing to do. But it isn't always a good thing, though, to reward yourselves after a bad behavior. In fact, that can reinforce a bad behavior and cause a harder time progressing forward, so actually getting better. That's why it becomes important at some point in your life to almost punish yourself, not in a bad way, but not rewarding bad behavior. So when you do something that isn't really something that you would want to reward yourself for, don't reward yourself. In fact, keep that in the back of your mind and say, okay, wait, I didn't deserve it this time around. Maybe I will not do this today. So like having a snack, for example. Especially if it's like a sugary snack or whatever, you don't need to have that every night. But there are some people out there who will do it every night because they don't know how to control their temptations. That is something that I've noticed has become a bigger issue, is that we've become so much more accepting of our failures that we are now willing to reward ourselves for those failures and not think about how we could have become better. Sometimes we do, but it's not the majority. We've normalized acceptance, which is kind of cool, but there's some downsides to that as well. Number 9, maintaining ADLs, or activities of daily living. So your basic movements. This is, I would call, a very basic discipline, but we don't really think about it, even though it is very basic. So moving in our everyday life is extremely important to keep our bodies healthy, happy, mobile, and able. Understanding the required balance in our daily living, so our daily activities, is necessary for self-care. If you don't know how to take care of your body, this becomes significantly harder. And so just knowing to walk is a very important thing. But sometimes you might get shin splints. Sometimes you might get pain at the bottom of your foot, plantar fasciitis. These things happen because of muscle imbalances, because of things that we're not otherwise taught about in school. Yes, the information that we used to have sucked. It used to be worse. But now we have better information. We know about the body in a better light. But now we are bringing in something called artificial intelligence to take over jobs and to take over us. We are still figuring us out. And yet we have a computer that is now going to take over what we do. And it's taking away our jobs. So this whole activities of daily living thing is going to look substantially different if we actually allow these systems to take over our lives. Basic universal income will probably become standardized, but we would actually have to reimagine the way we move. We wouldn't have to work as much. I think that could actually be a bad thing. I think employers should be, I don't know about forced, maybe they should be forced to keep employing people, to be incentivized for it. But we would lose a part of our activities of daily living. We need to work. It actually helps us take care of ourselves. But oftentimes too, though, we do things too often in certain directions, which causes other problems. So really what we're doing is we're taking one evil that we've already got a big problem with, which is repetitive use injury, doing things too much in one direction, and now we're just completely toppling it with, replacing your job. And now we're going to say, hey, good luck finding another job. We're not going to pay you, but we're going to take your job and give it to something that doesn't live, breathe, eat, or sleep. This is going to be an interesting time in our history. We've never seen this before, and this is going to be new precedent. But we need to move in order to be healthy. Number 10, balancing out diet and hydration needs. So you need diet, you need food, you need water. You need water more than you need food, but you need food to balance out the dietary needs of your body. So they're the building blocks. But without both, you can't actually have balance. You won't survive. So diet and hydration are both equally as important, or in survival mode, usually water is more important. Understanding how to balance them out prospectively based on your unique dietary needs is a must. So you need to know what you need to eat, and you need water in order to balance that out. Number 11. Balancing out our required functional exercises in our routines and life. So you'll get muscle imbalances if you don't. Some people just live with it and live with the pain, but that causes problems later on in life. That's why it's better to know about your muscle imbalances before and, preventative measures. We prevent these issues when we know what we have, or when we're given the information, and then we can work with it. But not everyone understands, not everybody knows. So this becomes significantly harder as you get older. So program planning is to plan out your exercise regime. So we haven't talked about that yet, but we will soon. Not in the near future, but I mean, eventually I'm going to talk about program planning and its importance. While periodization is to plan your program-specific details that work within your plan. So that's where you get a lot more specific. That is basically why a program design or a program plan and a periodization go hand in hand. Because a periodization is basically just a more specific overview of your program. We'll go into details soon on that idea. So this is to ensure that you see the results you want based on your understanding. So when you understand a certain way of work or exercise or movement, you will do that unless you want to try something different. You will get specific results based on that. Okay, good. It is still recording. Okay, good. I thought it wasn't recording anymore. This is to ensure that you see the results you want based on your understanding. So based on your understanding, based on what you know, and based on how you know to practice, that will give you a specific result. Now, this also means that if you do not know all of the factors to balance out your muscle imbalances, if you don't know how to take a break, if you don't know when to start back up, or if you don't know how to progress properly, you'll hit plateaus, you'll have problems, and you will not actually progress. You won't actually get stronger or better. That's why it becomes important to understand the disciplined balances necessary for whatever you're practicing. So, number 12, sidelining. So this just means to involve certain parties or all pertaining parties, so avoiding people and responsibilities. This just means that if you have an issue, that you would want to involve whatever party you need in order to fix said problem. I did this when I hurt myself back in 2022, except a vast majority of the people that I involved, they couldn't help me because my issue was muscle imbalance specific, but it was muscle imbalance specific based on its flexibility and strength and, well, muscle imbalances, so strength of the muscle and the way that it was pulling. So it was really hard to figure out. A doctor couldn't help me, a physiotherapist couldn't help me, a chiropractor couldn't help me, and I couldn't get any other help because it was a bad time for me. So I tried to involve all parties, but it didn't help me at the time. I think this is more just a lack of understanding as a society of how to take care of our body. And so that's why I think we need to better educate people about this, so that maybe the parties that I had involved could either direct me into the right direction, or give me the better recommendation of who to see, who to work with, or maybe they know better. Maybe they would know their body a bit better. Who knows? Number 13, natural consequences. So karma, or the regrettable after effects of consistent or possibly wrongful action or inaction. So if you do not take care of yourself, no one else will. You will fall apart. So you will at some point need to understand these concepts in order to take better care of yourself. We don't get taught this in school though. School doesn't really change for what we need it to be. It is there as a way to teach us what they want us to know in order to be what they want us to be. This isn't going to work in the future. We need to change school so that it can be a bit better for us, so that we can take better care of ourselves, so that we can be more productive in life. But that's not currently how this society is built. It's built so that when we fall apart, we pay someone to get help. That isn't going to work for very long though. I'm starting to see where that's starting to fall apart. So that's what these videos are for, to at least give you more of an understanding. And also the videos that I've posted in my other YouTube channel, What It Is to Be Well, that YouTube channel is chaos. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there that goes into detail on specific aspects of wellness, or the 89 or 90 factors that I was able to separate it into. There's a lot of different ways to consider these elements of wellness. It can become more complex. But yeah, anyways, on to the next point. So I think this is point 14. Rules, laws, and cultural standards. So all societies have laws that they abide by, and it's in itself an aspect of discipline to follow those principles. So sometimes loosely, depending where. Yeah, everywhere has their own rules, their laws, their cultural standards. Depending where you are on earth, they're a bit different. But yeah, you have to live by those laws. Otherwise, you are a social outlaw, a social criminal, I guess you could say. I don't know. But I do know that without the practice of that discipline, people would look at you funny. And that is a discipline. So getting back to my external points, the points that I created outside of my document. So why most people lack discipline, why school sucks, part one. We do not actually get taught what we need to know, and I've already said this before, Wellness Wheel. I'm making this its own point in itself because we need to be taught about all elements of wellness in order to take care of ourselves. We need to know how to talk to each other throughout life, how to maintain social contact and interaction, how to be healthy. With that, intellectually, we learn way too much stuff that we don't need, but we do need to learn more about our brain, about mental health, about how to take care of ourselves when things get stressful. Who do we talk to when it comes to that? Nowadays, it's the therapist or a psychologist or whoever you want to talk about. They're expensive though, and that information could be taught to kids, but we don't teach it to kids or their bodies. We don't teach them about their bodies. We don't teach them about the environment. We kind of do, but look at it now. It doesn't look like it's getting any better, and we still consume more than we've ever consumed before. That's a social construct. Technology, we're still stuck on that, another social construct. We're not talking as much as we used to. So school just doesn't teach us what we need to know. Occupation, we could learn a little bit earlier about it. We could even become more comfortable with that concept earlier on by having more choice. Finance, they could teach that to us every year. That is probably one of the more important, pertinent things that we should be learning about. Look at us, we don't learn that. Anyways, we do not have discipline because we do not get taught it in school. So we can't really blame anyone but the system that we're raised by. So, number 16, I'm going to be talking about influencers again. Influencers, I'm an influencer. Are the teachers that we learn from, they are influencers. But we are now exposed to influencers on our phones. We see them all the time. They influence our decisions. They influence our purchase power. They influence the way we talk, the way we think, the way we work. And it has become a bit of a problem because that's who we usually get our advice from. That's usually where we get our political beliefs from. I'm going to, though, talk about the discipline that they might have that we can see, but they probably lack the number of responsibilities that you might have in comparison. Now, let's talk about Dr. Mike. He is a doctor. He also does a YouTube channel. He's a busy person. He does a lot, but he also probably has help. He probably has help to make those videos with people that he works with. But then when it comes to his doctor job, it's probably a little bit more stressful. Probably requires a little bit more work, a little bit more thought. But I have to say that people like him probably enjoy their work. Same with Dr. K, someone who loves doing their work, working with people. What they do on the internet or how they influence you is a side project. So these are people who do things on the side from how they influence other people. But then there are other people who just influence and they don't really do anything else. The one that's coming to my head right now is the Kardashians. What do they do except for influencing people, influencing their decisions? Those are the people that you have to be really cautious and skeptical about. So this video in itself is going to be part of the Skepticism series. So if you've made it this far into the video, this will be part of 3 videos. I might even have its own separate playlist. But you need to understand that discipline is to have a form of skepticism, is to understand what you know about the discipline of what you're learning about. Influencers either do or don't. And you have to become skeptical about the information that you're taking from them because they might not be right. They might not have the same experiences that you might need to be successful. Hell, they might have failed, but not actually told you about their failures to how they got to where they are. They might be lying through their teeth. They might be on steroids. You never know. So that's why you have to have a skepticism hat on at pretty much all times on the internet. Number 17, attention span. Something that we're all losing because of the way that technology is, the way that it has made everything easier for us to absorb information. So instant gratification. We used to have more time to absorb information, to actually listen, to understand. But now we get everything that we need in like 5 to 10 seconds. And if you don't get that in 5 to 10 seconds, most people swipe away, unless it actually grabs their attention. But, well, it really depends on the content for the person. And the longer the person has been, the longer a person has been exposed to short-term content or content that requires a form of instant gratification, the harder it will be for that person to get out of that instant gratification mode, and the less willing they're going to be anyways. It becomes significantly more important for that person to sit in silence and to try to become used to doing nothing, because those people are highly addicted to stuff, to things, to information, or to quick content. The only way to get out of it is to do nothing, is to take it easy on yourself, to literally, to watch to watch long form content. That is probably the best thing that you can do for yourself, because that will help to restructure your brain in a way that allows you to take time to absorb the information, because it takes time for us to absorb information. So I am actually going to turn my injury prevention videos into shorts, because I think that this is an important topic that needs to be out there. I want to try to get more word out about how to not hurt yourself, about how to avoid injury, or how to fix yourself, how to figure out how to fix yourself. So that requires more understanding, but I need to be smart about how I label them. Because I need to make it easy for you to find and follow. Otherwise, you might disinform or get the information in the wrong way, which I really don't want that to happen. 18. So there's the attention span concept. So the way that we require a form of instant gratification. But then there's the problem, and I brought this up in the short that I released before this video, the Disney-fication of everything, or the TikTokification. So everything seems to be a production now, and it's only getting worse. You need a production, and you need it to be eye-catching and entertaining in order to be, in order for it to grab your attention. And that is a problem. Because of this problem that we've created, we require such a production in order to get the most basic of information. That is the main reason why my videos look and are the way they are. They're not very well produced or produced at all. I do very minimal editing. Before I didn't do any at all, or I just put in text. Well, my earliest video was me writing on a whiteboard. So we think that we need more in order to get more out of it. But that couldn't be furthest from the truth. And the more we think about the necessity of making everything a production, or if we think we need it, that will make things worse off for us in the future, especially with the development of artificial intelligence, with the way that things are right now, with how kids are. I just see it getting worse. And it won't be easier to teach these people. It'll be harder because, again, you'll need a production. And the production only goes up. You only need more in order to fulfill this requirement. So that's why I think that we need to simplify, do things less produced and more the way I'm doing it right now, which is not produced at all. Okay, so 17, 18, 19. Okay, so now I'm going back to my page, Importance of Self-Discipline. I'm actually going to be going through the rules of exercise that I came up with. And so I like to think these are still part of discipline because like it is. But first I'm going to say the requirement of discipline specific to whatever we may be talking about, such as exercise, eating, working on the computer, etc., exists to give us the necessary fundamental groundwork for understanding and encouraging healthier practices while taking better care of our own well-being. Accumulated stress over a specific range of amount of time and the required amount of time necessary to cope with that accumulated stress, so rest and maintenance, will depend greatly on the work done, so intensity, frequency, type, the amount of time not resting, so causing damage, so the work that you're doing, our age, and the activities we perform in our activities of daily living that are unique to us. So it really does depend on what we're doing, and that will depend on the amount of rest that we need, the amount of work that we can do afterwards, and the amount of food we need, that kind of thing. So getting into my list, the rules of exercise. So number 1, always use proper form, technique, and control, so speed, tempo, for each specified practice. These considerations change with each unique style of practice. So not every practice is going to have the same speed, the same tempo, same technique or form. When you're looking at the standard forms of exercise, they look pretty simple and similar. But then when you start going into things like calisthenics, gymnastics, then they start to look a little bit differently, a little bit more different, but the disciplines become different too. Well, except for those baseline standards of discipline, they remain pretty similar, but they can look different with each unique practice. Number 2, exercise your body as a whole, unless prescribed differently. Whenever I added unless prescribed differently, I added that after my injury. So I came up with this page in 2021, I think. But then I injured myself, and then I realized, you can't prescribe the same thing to everyone the same way. So you sometimes have to prescribe things differently to some people. Don't leave any part of your body out of your exercise program, as that can lead to specific overtraining and muscle imbalances. So pulling, straining, pain, and uncertain feeling. So like I said, unless prescribed differently. So you might have a different need of balancing out your muscles, so you need to do different exercises. So 3, always stretch before, dynamic, and after, static, an exercise, unless prescribed differently. So if you're like me, maybe right now you don't need to do too much stretching because maybe you did too much. Maybe you're a little too flexible. And so I can get away with doing a little less stretching. I do need to do it every so often, but I don't have to do it half as much as I used to. For now, anyways, at some point that might change. So just right now, I don't have to do as much. 4, your training frequency and intensity or effort will differ from time to time. So phases of periodization. Your program won't always look the exact same every week or every month. And from other people's unique practice styles. So like you're not going to be the same as everyone else. You got to be really careful with how you train and try not to copy other people because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know how they're progressing unless you talk to them. Talk to them. Don't just stare and be like, oh, I'm going to do what this person's doing. Talk to them. Okay, 5, rest your body every 1 to 3, sometimes 4 to 5 days of consistent work, plus a long-term rest after 5 to 15 weeks. This will depend on your intensity, so amount of effort, and your frequency. So if you're doing more, you would want to take rest, long-term rest, sooner. If you're not doing as much though, if you're not doing as much intensity or frequency, you could probably go a little longer without taking a break. You could probably go about 10 to 15 weeks. But then at some point, you will need to take a break. Like you have to. If you just keep going and if you keep working without that week break, eventually you'll hurt yourself. Even if you down the intensity. I don't think people understand that this week break is necessary. You have to have a period between your program or where you're going from one program to the next, where you're not doing anything, where you're recovering, unless your program is that light. but not like, what's the point of doing a really light routine? Usually the goal is to get stronger. So push yourself. See that you're actually challenging yourself as opposed to doing the same thing all the time. But if you're going to challenge yourself, that makes that rest so much more important. 6. If you feel pain when you are exercising, stop, rest, and reevaluate. I have a video on it already, movement analysis. Like I said, I'm going to release shorts, but there's a video on it already. Go ahead and check it out. It's 7.1 in injury prevention on my YouTube channel. 7, don't be afraid of variety in your routine. So people do actually fear doing different things, but you're going to only get stronger from trying different things. Obviously, come back to the thing you want to get strong in, or you want to do it again to see if you've gotten stronger, but then take a break from it. Do something different. There's nothing wrong with doing something different. That's something that we don't think about. Exercising different angles of your muscles. So prone, supine, neutral hand grip, incline, flat, decline push, and then high, mid, low pull will target different portions of the specific muscle and is necessary for symmetry of our muscular system. So I will talk more about muscular symmetry when we get into biomechanics, once I've covered all of the exercises, all of the movements. When I release all these movement videos, that is basically going to cover the muscle imbalance consideration. I'll go over the importance of our muscular symmetry, how you can obtain full muscular symmetry, and how to avoid aches and pains, simply just by knowing what you're imbalanced in and how to maintain that balance or get rid of that imbalance. So, number 8. While rule number 7 is important, consistency is important to create actual ability and strength in our specific practices. So like I said, come back to what you're practicing, create consistency, but also take a break. Do something different. Don't be afraid of that. This is where moderation of our practice comes in. So we have to rest, or we have enough rest to cope with the stress of what we are improving on, but ensuring we switch things often enough to have balance. So you have to have balance. You have to try different things. You have to work on different parts of the movement in order to make that movement stronger. Just think that you're just doing one part of the movement and you're going to get stronger from that, that is bad thinking. That is not disciplined thinking. Okay. Number 9. Looking at rule number 2 again, so back at exercising your body as a whole. While exercising big muscles are important, also remember to train small muscles, or you could also look at it as a compound, so multiple muscles being worked in a movement, so like a bench press, the row, or isolated movements, so bicep curl, tricep extension, lateral raise, frontal raise. Those are smaller movements. So they'll train single muscle groups instead of multiple, but they'll still stabilize, or other muscles will still need to stabilize in order to do that work. Or wrist flexors, rotator cuffs, shins, calves. Okay, so number 10. Exercise can be light, moderate to intense, but try to have fun with it. So you got to remember that exercise is important, but you got to have fun with it. Otherwise, it's going to be really boring. It's going to suck. Try to find something that you find interesting, that you find fun, but also remember that you want to try to learn the disciplines of it in order to avoid injury, to not hurt yourself. But have fun with it. Okay, so back to this page. I actually have to figure out what number I'm on. 16, 17, 18. Okay, so 29, but I made these into separate points. So 9, why school sucks, part 2, at teaching kids proper respected discipline. So we don't teach kids about wellness, I already said that, but we don't emphasize on these disciplines for long enough. Someone in my comment section actually, or maybe it was a different comment. Anyways, someone once said that we learn about money in grade 6. We need to learn about money every single year. Otherwise, like we use money every day of our life. We use our bodies every day of our life. We need to understand how money works every year, almost every week, to be better with it, to have a better, healthy relationship with it. But we don't teach people about these basic concepts every week or every year. This is something that is pretty bad. Kids are essentially inmates because they do not actually even get money when they're working at school. We are afraid to get kids to do work because we don't want to call them slaves. Yet we have kids in school to learn things for free. Teachers get paid, but I don't even think they get paid for all the work that they do. They go home and then they have to mark stuff. So technically speaking, we have kids doing things for free in school and not teaching them about money, giving them healthier practices with it. And we have teachers doing work on their off time. Oh, and providing stuff in the classroom that the kids need. So yeah, school really isn't keeping up with what we need it to be. And then teachers doing their job isn't really good enough anymore. We need them to be doing a bit more of what we need them to do, like teaching kids about how to have healthier connections with technology, how to take better care of their mental health. But like a lot of teachers out there aren't properly trained for that consideration. So that's why I think teachers really do need to change for what we need them to be. Number 30. So this is my last point. Knowing your limits and understanding healthy work habits needs to be addressed before you hurt yourself. The first few times might not be bad, so you might get strains, pulls, and minor pains. But if ignored and left unchecked, this can lead to severe consequences. Employers don't care. So you need to be able to take care of yourself sooner than later. Otherwise, it'll only become a bigger issue. You'll possibly have to quit your job. It'll become harder to find another job. You'll be on, well, in Canada, we call it ODSP, which is Ontario Disabilities Benefit, welfare. You might be stuck on that. And then afterwards, it becomes harder to find a job. Because, well, as you get older, it has become a little bit more common in our society today to bias older people into getting jobs. And, well, we've basically made it hard for people to survive. So there's more competition, there's more to work against, work with. And so long as we're not taught how to take care of ourselves, this is only going to get harder. So that's why I'm releasing this video. That's why I'm talking about this concept. It's important to be disciplined. It's important to understand what self-discipline is. Yes, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I'm not the most disciplined when it comes to releasing videos. But when it comes to taking care of my body, I'm very disciplined. I understand how to take care of my body. I know what I have to do and how much I have to do of. So I hope this video has been even just a little bit helpful. This is a pretty long topic. Probably a pretty long video, but it is a very important topic. This is something that we have to understand in order to better take care of ourselves, but we also have to understand it so that we can learn how to fix these systems that we currently have that are not working to our favor. They're working for other people, just not for us. And the sooner we know about self-discipline and how we can have it, creating that awareness and understanding, I think the sooner we can actually make some of those changes that we need. So anyways, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comments. But yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and like the video and subscribe. I need more subscribers. But to the subscribers that I already have, thank you for your support. Thank you for your patience. And I promise you that I'm only trying my best to make these videos as best as I possibly can, so that when I look at this camera, I have my notes and I'm talking to the camera. At least the information I'm giving you is good information that you can actually take and use and maybe make the change that we need. I'm making these videos to create more awareness, so I really hope that's what I'm doing. Anyways, have a good one, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.